Welcome to the Summit Lab podcast. This is a place where I explore ideas about photography, creativity, family, and the long road of trying to build something meaningful. I'm Chris, and this is the Summit Lab. And to be honest, I kind of don't even want to be doing this right now. It's I'm in usual fashion. It is 5 minutes to midnight right now, and it's Friday night when I'm recording this. And this week was a little tough. It was a very busy week. Usual stuff, work, kids sports. We had family over for Easter. Just all the things. And I had the camera with me the whole time. I took the camera with me everywhere, like I've been saying I'm going to do. This week's experiment was learning to see in 35 millimeters. I learned some things last week where I saw certain ways to capture photos in 35 millimeter that I wanted to practice this week. And I felt like I didn't do that much. While the camera was on my side, I didn't feel inspired a ton to take any photos. And so it kind of left me discouraged. But I've thought about some things and so I just want to discuss them here. So here's the deal. Again, I didn't feel real inspired to take photos, and some people might think, well, you said you had family over and you're at your kids' sports and, all these things, like those are all opportunities to take photos, and they certainly are. And I do take photos at them to an extent, but in those moments, like those family moments, my preference is to be in that moment. I've always tried to take things in the moment and be present in those moments, especially with my kids. It's one thing that I try to do. I'm not always successful at it, but that's what I try to do. And so much so that during this week, my older boy had a baseball game that had some really low lows and a really incredible high. He gave up the lead pitching. He's an incredible pitcher, but he gave up the lead pitching, and his team was down in the last inning. He came up with 2 outs, bases loaded, got 2 strikes on him early, and he ended up hitting a walk-off hit that cleared the bases to win the game for his team. An amazing moment. And I shared that moment with my buddy Mike, who grew up playing baseball, stud when he was younger. And he asked me, he goes, are you recording all of his at bats? And I was like, no, like I just like to live in the moment. And he shared that it's one of his most treasured memories. His dad used to record all his at bats. And it's one of his favorite things that he has today. But I don't do that. I just try to live in the moment. Now, I did capture a lot of photos at the end of that game. Like as the runs were coming in, I started snapping some shots, and I got a cool photo of my kid standing on base, losing his mind with the winning run coming in. And that was really cool. So I did capture something cool out of that. And, in the other, like when we went out to dinner with family, I got some really cool photos of the kids in those moments. But just being out, I only really photographed like 1 day solid of like, okay, I'm going to go try and capture some 35 millimeter shots with the experiment that I was trying to do this week. Beyond that, I didn't feel like I photographed that much. As I was driving home last night after my younger kid's baseball practice, I had both the boys with me. My older kid was helping with the practice. And as we're coming home, the sunset was just shaping up to be amazing. The light was phenomenal. The clouds were just majestic. It was beautiful. And as we were about to pull in to our neighborhood, I couldn't take it, and so I saw like a potential shot. Just I wanted to get anything to capture this sky, but I wanted to do the experiment where I have a subject with foreground and then let the rest of the frame tell the story, like I had talked about last week. And so I spun the car around, and the boys are like, "Oh, Dad, no!" They just want to get home and take a shower, eat, and so, anyways, I turned the car around. I parked it on the side of the road, jumped out, snapped a couple photos, uh, and I ended up getting one that I think is pretty cool. But, anyways, I all in the number was 113 when I took the card out of the camera last night, downloaded the photos. I had 113 images that I shot in this past week, which is not a lot. Um, but what I was really happy about was there were there was probably like 6 or 7 images out of that group that I was like, these are pretty good images. And so at the end of the day, it was inspiring. Although the week was kind of blah, and I didn't think that I had done what I said I was going to do, it was enough to keep me inspired once I looked, and it it brought me back to just being consistent and just showing up. And even when you don't want to do something, you do it. And that's what differentiates, I think this is what differentiates the people who succeed and the people who just give up and ultimately fail, is that persistence. It's showing up when you don't necessarily want to. And again, that's kind of how I felt with this podcast tonight. I'm like, man, it's late. Um, I'm tired, but I gotta show up and I gotta keep doing this. And so, again, here I am. It's right at midnight, and I'm recording the podcast because I learned this through this experience, and I know this, but it reinforces what I already know. Um, and so, anyways, that leads me to what I want to do next week. I want to push that a little bit. I want to to lean into this resistance. What I talked about when I first started this is just that resistance of things trying to get in the way and trying to derail you from what you want to do. And I want to push that, push those limits, and push myself to break through that. And so up until tonight, as I was coming up to my office here to set this all up, I thought that next week's experiment was just going to be a continuation of this week and just continuing to learn how to photograph in 35 millimeters. And I'm not saying that I'm an expert on that by any means, but that's going to be a long process. I'm going to continue to stick with a 35 millimeter lens. I'm having fun with it. I'm learning. I'm getting better. I'm getting photos that I like, and I'm going to keep doing that. But what I'm going to push this week is to just push past any resistance of actually taking photos. And so I'm going to force myself to at least capture one image a day, at least one. And that way, again, it'll force me to do it, even if I don't feel like it. There's going to be days where you don't feel like doing something, and we all get those. You wake up, you're tired, you stayed up late, you had a bad day at work, the kids are acting up, whatever it may be. There's things that change our moods, but we have to continue to show up. And so that's what I'm going to force myself to do this week. And in this week's experiment is just take at least one photo a day. Um, again, like I'm learning how to do this with the camera, and so I'll continue to learn there. But uh, one of the funny things about this whole podcast is I was kind of not. I don't want to say I was dreading it. I like doing these. I like setting it up, but it's a lot of work to set this up. Like I've got camera one, camera two, camera three. I've got a board in front of me. I've got two boards and my laptop, and I've got a monitor and a couple lights and all these cables everywhere. Like it's madness what's in front of me right now to get this set up. And I'm in a very small room. Like this is my office at home. Um, and it takes, I don't know, probably 15 minutes to set this stuff up and maybe another 10, 15 minutes to break it down. And I actually recorded it today. I took out my little two point and shoots, which I love. This is that Sony I was talking about last week, this little Sony ZV-1 Mark II. And this is a Canon V1. I love both of these cameras a lot. These things are amazing. Like quite honestly, the quality, the size, for what you get out of this thing. But I mean, look at the size difference of the Sony compared to the Canon. I love this damn Canon though. It's so good. I've just started using this Sony, and I do like it. I'm a sucker for Canon though. Anyways, I recorded it. I may share that. I may start sharing some more like behind the scenes stuff just to show kind of a day in the life of all the madness that I go through, and the struggles and just the hurdles that I try and get through every day. So I may try to start sharing more on Instagram, making reels or something. I've never made a reel in my life. I might start trying to do those. I was even thinking about doing like a daily vlog type thing or like a weekly vlog type thing that just kind of shows some of the behind the scenes stuff of just me and the everyday struggles as I continue to do this. Anyways, I think that's all I got for now. So next week's experiment is going to be take at least one photo a day. I'll write more about that as I formulate my thoughts and just figure out really what that means to me. So that'll be out on Tuesday. I've got to write that. I haven't even written a word yet, but I know what it's going to be now. And again, that's always the fun part. When I start writing, things just kind of start to flow, and it makes you think about different things. So I'm very much enjoying this process. And again, for the people that have listened and have been following along, I appreciate you. Really, at this point, this is for me, and just to keep me moving with what I love and falling back in love with photography and learning new things. And I hope that maybe somebody else can be inspired by this and follow their passions. Again, if you guys have questions or comments or want to see something or learn anything about photography, maybe you got a camera and you don't know how to use it, you just want some tips, maybe I can start sharing some things like that. But until then, I'm just going to keep on going down my journey, and I thank you all for being here. This is the Summit Lab podcast, experiments in creativity, storytelling, and building a meaningful life.